Okay, I think we are live. Welcome to it, everyone. September beckons. It is finally upon us. I don't know how your month of August was, but I hope it was a little easier than mine. Had went through some pretty rough territory, so fingers crossed everyone else is coming to this a little bit more refreshed. But today we are talking about the future. So September beckons. We're going to look at our astrological overview. We're going to be looking at our events. We're going to be preparing for the autumn equinox. We'll be cozying up the nest. And of course, we will be having a very witchy fall. So let's begin, everyone. We'll begin with our astrological overview. The sun from the 1st to the 21st of September will be in Virgo, mutable earth, which is to be very service minded. Then on the 22nd at 1:19 p.m. Central Standard Time, that's when the sun will move into Libra, cardinal air, and that will represent the spirit of fairness. Mercury will begin the month in Leo, fixed fire, which is to be idealistic. On the 2nd of the month, Mercury will move into Virgo, mutable earth, which is to be verbose at 8:23 a.m. Central Standard Time. It'll stay there until the 17th. Then on the 18th of September, Mercury will, at 5:06 a.m. Central Standard Time, it will move into Libra, a cardinal air sign, and that is to be a visionary. Venus, from the 1st to the 18th, will be in the sign of Leo, fixed fire, which is to be ardent. Then on the 19th of September, Venus will move at 7:39 a.m. Central Standard Time into Virgo, mutable earth, which is to be a perfectionist. Mars, from the 1st to the 21st, will be in Libra, cardinal air, which is to be visionary. Then on the 22nd at 2:54 a.m. Central Standard Time, Mars will go into Scorpio, fixed water, which is to be reticent. Then Jupiter will be in Cancer cardinal water, which is to be traditional the entire month of September. Saturn begins the month of retrograding in Aries cardinal fire, transformation and simplification. But then on the 1st at 3:07 a.m. Central Standard Time, Saturn will retrograde back into the sign of Pisces, a mutable water sign, and then we will go from transformation and simplification into balancing structures with fluidity. So you will feel that shift in the atmosphere. Uranus rather begins the month, the 1st through the 4th in Gemini, mutable air, which is to be the trailblazer. Then on the 5th of September at 11:51 p.m. Central Standard Time, Uranus will be going retrograding into Gemini, mutable air, which is to have unexpected change. Neptune will be retrograding in Aries, cardinal fire, which is to redefine identity. Pluto will be retrograding in Aquarius, fixed air, which is transformation. And then, of course, we will still have Chiron retrograding in Aries, identity related issues. And if you have been enjoying what we were doing on the daily forecast before, it went on hiatus. Today was its last day, at least for a little while. But if you've enjoyed taking a look at the astrological months and comparing them to where we are and the calendar months, September 1st will be Virgo 11th, and then September 21st will be Virgo 31st, and then September we will have Libra 1st. So mark your calendars accordingly if you are also joining me in that experiment. So the September events, the first, of course, is Labor Day, the official end of summer, at least psychologically, for most of us here in the States. I hope you all have something fun planned that you can enjoy a day away from your labors. Then September 7th, we will be doing the harvest moon. And then September 11th, it will be the anniversary of the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. September 21st, we will have new moon Virgo. The moon goes void, of course, at the same time it enters its new moon phase. So we'll talk a little bit about those implications later on. And then September 22nd, we have the Feast of the Harvest, the Autumn Equinox, and Mabon. So you might be taking a look at the myth of Mabon and Modron, which was the divine child taken from its mother and later returned by an early King Arthur type figure. You might also be reading up on the myth of Hades and Persephone, because at this time of year in the myth, Persephone rejoins her husband. The harvest comes and Demeter mourns her absence. And you might also look at the myth of Baldur's death and his confinement to Hell's realm. And then, of course, also on the 22nd, that is the beginning of Libra season, and it's all about balancing those scales. So let's talk about Libra season in a little bit more detail. It begins September 22nd, 2025 at 1:19 p.m. Central Standard Time. It will end October 22nd, 2025 at 10:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. Libra, of course, is the seventh sign in the zodiac. It literally means balance in Latin. Its symbol, as we all know, is a set of scales. Its themes for the overall time period are balance, fairness, and justice. And let's look a little bit into the mythology. Libra is associated with Asteria, who was a Greek goddess of justice, and she's frequently depicted as holding a set of scales from which to judge the deeds of human beings. She's considered to be the daughter of Themis, a goddess who is also associated with divine law and order. Themis is shown with a sword and scales, indicating her active role in actually dispensing justice and balance, not just the conception, but actually making sure that those scales are redressed. Asteria was said to have lived amongst humans during the gold age of peace and prosperity. Then, once humanity became corrupt, Asteria became very disappointed in us. She left the earth, taking her scales with her, and those scales became the constellation of Libra. And humans have struggled with balance and justice ever since. So that's a little bit of the mythos. If you want to look at it into more detail, this would definitely be the time of year to do so. The key phrase of Libra is I balance. Its key word is harmony. It's ruled by the planet Venus and the element of air. This is a cardinal sign. Its shape is the infinity loop, and the tarot it relates to the card of justice. The flowers associated with Libra are very late roses. If you're up north, you might not have any roses for this particular time of year, but if you're in the south or in the Midwest, you might have a few still lingering. Its gemstone is opal. The palette of it is pastels, which is kind of odd to think about in terms of a more autumnal sort of season. But if you think about the very palest shades of sunlight, the very muted shades of orange that we have around us, just kind of taking and diffusing everything else. Usually in autumn, we think about things taking on a little bit more black and being a lot moodier. This would be more of kind of the pastels that we see during an autumn sunrise, that sort of thing. Then a few lessons that we can look to for the season of Libra is practicing calm in the face of anxiety, enacting justice conscientiously in a spirit of fairness, and making decisions deliberately and without procrastination. It's also a time to genuinely connect with others. This isn't a people pleasing thing or anything false or fake or anything that's transactional. This is about genuine connections. And this is also a time to look for and to create beauty. Now let's look at our September full moon. The names for it include harvest moon, hazel moon, corn moon, singing moon, barley moon, nut moon, and wine moon. So this brings me to a special challenge I would like to toss out to my American followers. I would like you to take a look at, the plants, the animals in your region, anything that tends to go on at this time of year, and see what coincides with this particular moon. Is this something that happens every year? And would this be something suitable to lend its name to the moon in your own personal practice? One example would be, let's say you live in an area and at this time of year, you're just absolutely overrun with squirrels. They are everywhere. There's no escaping them. They're just around all the time. And so, because of that, you might take to calling the September full moon the squirrel moon. If you have already kind of adopted more of a localized name for this particular full moon, or if it's something you're willing to explore, I'd love to hear about it. The moon, of course, will be in the sign of Pisces, which adds kind of a dreamy overlay to the occasion. And this brings up the ideas that as we are easing into this sleepier time of year, what dreams are we taking with us through the autumn and through the winter that we might want to bring to life next spring? That's something worth thinking about for this full moon. It's also a good opportunity to take inventory of your magical and spiritual supplies, fill up any gaps in your stock, prepare your home for the colder months ahead, which includes getting your closet in order. After all, you don't want to be running late on a frosty morning and then have to frantically search for a coat. That never ends well. So you can spare yourself that inconvenience. This would be a good moon to focus on spell work and rituals for thankfulness on the abundance in your life, to safeguard your home and your family, and welcoming the deities that are active at this time of year. Suitable offerings would include wheat or any kind of breads, particularly homemade breads if you have them, wines or grape juice, seasonal fruits and vegetables. This is also a good time to work with the earth element in either its literal or its figurative manifestations. And one thing you might do in preparation for your ritual is to take a nature walk, look for trees that are in the early stages of turning. Now, this is the 7th of September, so for most of us, this would be very, very, very early, but there might be one out there that's, throwing you a bone. You can take a look to see what flower varieties are still hanging on, what animals are scurrying around, what land spirits, ancestors, or deities that you sense nearby. Just really take stock of what you have around you. Then for the new moon that is coming September 21st, 2025. And September's new moon, it does throw us a little bit of a curveball at the exact moment the moon becomes new. It also goes void, of course. This happens at 2:54 p.m. Central Standard Time, and that's kind of annoying because void moons, we treat them more or less like we do a Mercury retrograde. Avoid the major decisions, don't sign contracts, don't start anything that's actually important to you. Thankfully, this void moon is going to be relatively brief for us, and it moves into Libra at 4:51 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that's just something you have to take into account because if you thought, okay, we're in Virgo season, we're going to be having this Virgo moon, and I'll be thinking of it this. And like, no, 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 we're going to be having a Libra new moon by the time we're actually able to do something with it. So just bear that in mind. This is a good new moon to plant the seeds for successful diplomacy, whether you're directing this intention towards your own well being or your relationships or your business affairs or all of them. You can reflect on your personal conduct and assess where you can be more fair minded, more tactful, more balanced, more kind, and even more modest. If you're doing chakra work right now, honing in on the heart, throat, and third eye chakra may be particularly fruitful. And then you can take a look at your spiritual practice in both its form and its function. Is it promoting inner harmony for you? Is it satisfying your spiritual needs? If not, you can seek guidance on what adjustments to make. And if you're doing great, then that's also a time to be giving thanks to where you're not in this position where you're feeling a push and pull and a need for big change. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to chill out for a moment. This is a good new moon to reset struggling relationships and also to take the time to look at things from a perspective other than your own. It's very instructive to understand the motivations and perceptions of others. It actually helps you negotiate with them more effectively. This is a good moon to embrace beauty, to take pleasure in everyday things, promote cohesion in your life, and in ritual and spell work, add a little magical oomph to help resolve any ongoing conflicts in your life. You don't necessarily want to have that dragging with you throughout the season, particularly if you have any kind of a conflicts amongst family members or close friends. We're going into the big holiday season of the year. Do you really want to have the controversies from earlier in the year dragging down and putting a damper on the occasion? I mean, I personally wouldn't. I'm sure you probably wouldn't either. So keep in mind, September 21st, that new moon, you can do a little something to help smooth things out. So after that, on the 22nd of September, we have the Feast of the Harvest, often called the Autumn Equinox or Mabon. This really is the primary harvest festival of the year, particularly for those of us who are living a bit more southernly than our ancestors did in Europe. The themes for this particular holiday are the balance between day and night before sliding into the dark half of the year. And I know that different traditions, they mark the light and dark half of the year at different points, and they have very reasonable arguments. For me, I don't really feel like I'm in the dark half of the year until I have more nighttime hours than I do daytime. So that's my rationale. It's no better or worse than anyone else's, but just that's the perspective I'm coming from on this. This is also the annual death of the god and the widowhood of the goddess. This is a good time to look at the story of Mabon ap Modron, Mabon the son of Modron, and again, the myth of Hades and Persephone and the myth of Balder in Hell's realm. Now, I realize this last one is a bit controversial, but please, please hear me out. I realize that for the most part, we tend to see the Norse myths as this one great big event. You have the beginning, you have all the stuff that takes place, and it comes crashing down with Ragnarok. But then after Ragnarok, there is this seeds of renewal. And my suspicion, I don't have proof, so I'm not claiming to have any, but my suspicion is that this tale may have over the years become a bit more melodramatic, and perhaps it did at one point in time in the distant, distant past, post more to seasonal. Beginnings and endings and renewals rather than the great big cataclysmic scale of things. That's just my my take on it. But if you're of a similar mindset, this would be another myth you could look to. And then we can take a stock of what the elements are, how they're manifesting. For fire, we have the fading light, we have diminished warmth. When we think of fires, we might be thinking more so of bonfires because we're not going to be stepping outside as often and feeling the warmth. That's not what this time of year is about. We're letting go of that. And then in the water, we have the cooling streams. We have very turbulent lakes and seas. This is a very stormy time of year. So we have that to, well, honestly look forward to. Like a good storm. And then the earth, the state of the earth is the harvested fields. We have the frost kissed landscape. If we've had frost by this point of year. In Missouri, that's always kind of, maybe we've had frost, maybe we haven't. It just kind of depends whether or not we're getting any Canadian air. Um, but other parts of the US, of course, you're experiencing different things, but it can, look to see what the elements are doing in your own environment. And then for the air, that's when we usually are welcoming in crisp and very brisk winds. The mood of this holiday is very joyful, but it also has foreboding overtones because we know we're getting into a harder part of the year. We know it's getting colder. We know it's getting darker. For some people, they don't necessarily welcome those things. Other people do. It really depends on your temperament and your outlook. But it's things are letting go, things are getting quiet, things are getting dormant. We have fewer distractions, we have fewer things to take us out of the houses. It's a little bit more contemplative. But it is a good opportunity for us to revel in agricultural landscapes and aesthetics, the farm animals and harvested crops, everything from what you got out of your own garden to orchards you visited, vineyards, anything they produce during the year. It's a good time to give thanks to every agricultural deity that you personally connect with and all of the divine blessings they've bestowed upon the earth. It's a wonderful time to gather in natural beauties of the season, things like collecting pine cones, autumn blooming flowers, changing leaves of local trees, acorns, wheat and corn stalks, fallen feathers, stones that, just looked nice and felt like they wanted to come home with you, things of that sort, anything that you might kind of just feel compelled to pick up when you're out and about. You can plan a feast of seasonal bounties. Maybe you'll have a beef roast with root vegetables, homemade apple pie, washed down with a lovely Malbec. That's one of my favorite wines. It is wonderful. If you like dry reds, that is. But this is also a good holiday to go ahead and do a really good deep clean of your home. Switch out summer clothing and your linens with winter if you haven't already done so. Put up your autumnal decor if you haven't already done so. I imagine most of us do that well ahead of time, but just in case there are people who might feel like they want to wait for that day and wait for that moment, this would definitely be the moment. And it's just an all around good time to get yourself organized for the busy season ahead. Things are going to be picking up with a lot of activities. It's going to be Samhain and Yule before we know it. Now, later on in the month of September, I do want to go look at this particular feast day from a more American perspective, kind of tie in how we can bring our own cultural flavor into it. But that's going to be for another time. But I wanted to make sure we kind of went over just a general overview of this today. Now we're going to talk about cozying up the nest. And now, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I do not have endless slides of very pretty pictures of things that people have done with their autumnal decor, because it isn't really so much about those things in specific. Because we all have our favorite autumnal color palettes. These tend to be very personal preferences. We have certain fabric textures we really like this time of year. We have our candles, our various bits and bobs we've collected. And these things are great and they're wonderful and they can make us feel really good, but that is just the level of creating visual coziness. But we want to have a really cozy nest, a truly cozy nest, it's going to need to go beyond what we can see. It's going to extend to how our homes actually function and how we feel when we are inside of them, not just how they look. So, to that end, I'd like to encourage everyone to think of coziness in terms of convenience and what's creating a good flow in their homes. One example of this would be, how it's wonderful for this to actually get out our nice soft blankets and our pretty autumnal colors, but it's not going to do us very much good if we are not keeping those blankets in places that are easily accessible. Another example would be, let's say you're wanting to get into canning for the produce of your garden, but if your canning supplies are scattered all over the house and the garage and goodness knows where, that increases the odds that your canning dreams will remain conceptual rather than actual. We need to keep things where they're going to be handy for us if we're actually going to make use of them. And that's something that's kind of glossed over and a lot of the aesthetic decorating videos we see on YouTube, or the how to articles we might read on how to keep house properly. Very seldom do I see suggestions that actually relate to making things a little bit more utilitarian and serviceable. Keep the thing where you're going to be using it, keep it handy, keep it clean, keep up with these things. I don't think that form and function have to be at odds at all. But I think that sometimes when we aren't thinking about function, when we aren't thinking about where's the most convenient and sensible place to have something, that it does create a conflict, and it doesn't have to be. We can resolve it. I think a cozy house is also a house where there's no major outstanding chores to be done. So the sooner any fall cleaning is done and everything is organized for you, probably the better off you'll be, the cozier you will feel. Keeping up with daily tasks, that also enhances the sense of coziness. I've always found that it's much easier to curl up with a really good book or have a marathon of mystery stories or have an evening watching monster movies, if the dishes and the laundry and general cleaning isn't, nagging away at the conscience. We do ourselves a favor by keeping up on our chores and making sure those things are taken care of before we try to relax. Otherwise, we're we're at cross purposes with our own energy. Another thing that helps cozy up the nest is bringing in touches of the outside where that's where possible and desirable. I think that actually does help synchronize the energies of our homes with the energies of the outside world. Blurring the lines between inside and out, as some gardener I used to watch all the time used to say. And sometimes it's just nice to have an excuse to go outside, soak in the season, and then bring in a little bit of that for you to enjoy at home. Then, in a similar vein, on pleasant days, because we still do have some decently good days ahead, open up the windows, air out the house. It's good to have everything as fresh as possible with cold and flu season just around the corner and before the weather gets too cold and to let in the fresh air. And, a lot of people had really hot summers, especially during the month of August. So it's also good just to get a break from all of that. We don't want the air and the energy in our homes to become too stagnant. Those things are anti-cozy. So having it clear out, having an air out, really thinking about how we use and live in our homes and organizing things accordingly. I think that will enhance the beauty of our homes. I think it will go a long ways towards making the season less stressful for us, and it just gets the energy sorted out to where it needs to be. So let's discuss a very witchy fall. Now, naturally, those of us in the craft, witch and wizard alike, we practice year round. But there is no denying that there's something just a little extra special about autumn, and we can all feel it. But of course, we have the thinning of the veil, and that definitely gets our magical juices flowing. But I really do genuinely believe that it is more than that. I think it has a lot to do with autumn being the season of consequences, of results, of harvest. And the craft is a very results based spiritual path. That we have this common thread of, what do you have to show for all of your hard work? And I think that really yokes together nicely the spirit of autumn and the spirit of the craft. For us, this is a time to take stock and just contemplate the meaning of it all. What lessons did we learn? What mistakes did we recover from? What victories do we have to celebrate? Our autumns, they're marked by the joy of the equinox harvest, the spookiness of Samhain. And for American practitioners, we also have the family, the gratitude, and the togetherness in November with Thanksgiving. This is a good season for us to think about what have we contributed to our tribe this year. And we can look at, our tribe through several lenses, our immediate kith and kin, quite obviously. What has been our interactions with them this year? And then the broader community in which we live. What has come of that? And then our spiritual brothers and sisters. Have we been someone who's been building things up? Have we been tearing things down? What is our relationship to everyone else? And then another thing we might keep in mind is that I think most of us who've been practicing any length of time at all, we realize on a pretty visceral level that the craft isn't just about satisfying personal desires or imposing our will on the events surrounding us. I mean, that's a part of it. That's an aspect of it. But we do have a higher calling. For instance, did we become teachers if we were called upon to do so, even in the course of a conversation? Did we help anyone if asked to intervene and if it was proper for us to ask, which could be a whole other conversation? But did we do that? Did we seek to build up our spiritual community? And were our methods did such that they yielded results that actually justified repetition of those methods? There's an accounting for us that's inherent at this time of year, and it goes beyond our winter preparations or the state of our bank accounts. It goes beyond, what fun things we have to set out for our decor or magic we want to do. There's also a kind of judgment in how we've acquitted ourselves in our magical works and why we did them. So lots going on. So, on that note, I hope everyone's September is memorable, abundant, and magical. And before I go, I want to say hello to Kelly Hinkins, Mary Mead. Very glad to have you here. And if anyone has anything they'd like to have on just talk about, I just wanted to step in here real quickly, give a very brief overview for September because I realize there's probably a lot of people who are having a little mini vacation right now, so I don't want to take you away from your fund for too long. But if anyone just wants to chat for a minute, talk about what they're looking forward to or any challenges they experienced in August or what they're wanting to let go of, I wanted to make sure that we left a little bit of room for that because I think that in this more contemplative time of year, sometimes people do just need a moment to talk, a little moment to unload, a little moment just to kind of verbally release some of the things that they've had on their minds and their hearts and can be very helpful. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I had a very challenging August. I am very thankful that I was able to successfully, record and upload all of the August videos way ahead of time. Because if I hadn't been able to do that, I would have really been hurting. I'm not sure if it would have been possible to keep up the schedule or anything else. So, if anyone else found themselves in similar situations, definitely wanted to give you a little bit of time just to kind of let that all out. And also, if anyone wants to talk about, the hopes they have coming up for this season, or if you're embracing this challenge of trying to make your craft a lot more localized and a lot more personalized and bringing things down to the soil that you are actually living in. If you have any thoughts about that, I would also be all open ears. I'd love to chat about that as well, because it's something that's been getting louder and louder in my mind. Now, as a lot of you know, I'm taking some time off from the daily forecast so that I have time for writing and also so that I have time for live streams and hopefully in the future do better jobs with them. But part of the thing that just keeps coming up in my mind is just this desperate need to connect on a deeper and deeper level with where I actually live and to take stock not just of the distant ancient historical past, when all of our ancestors were pagan, but also kind of bring together those threads of all the years when they weren't. Bring together the threads of when we started to have spiritual reawakenings within our societies. And also at what point, I joined that thread, what point when you guys joined that thread, bringing it all together, putting things back into context, being able to look at things. Um, I don't necessarily want to say objectively, but being able to see how it's all part of the pattern now. I think that's something that's worth a little bit more contemplation. And of course, we're on the verge of the season of being able to do just that. So I think I've rambled on for long enough. Thank you guys who tuned in. Anyone who watched on the replay, thank you very much for popping in. I very much appreciate you. And yeah, look for me to pop in randomly with various live streams throughout the coming months. I don't have a set schedule because, as I mentioned in the daily forecast issue, got lots of stuff going on. It's not just my writing, it's also us trying to get out to the farm. We had some events in August that prevented us from meeting our deadline. We had hoped to be there already, but life happens. And so we'll be adapting to that. But yeah, let me know what you thought of all this in the comments. I'll catch you guys on the next live stream. Oh, and be sure to check out the postings on my YouTube. I have your cheat sheets for September there. I'll also, as the month goes on, have just kind of daily greetings just to make sure things stay active. And of course, if you follow me on X, I also have kind of daily greetings there, and there'll be random content that pops up. So either place, check that out just to get a little glimpses of where my head is at. And of course, I will be giving you periodic updates on how the writing is going, what I've been thinking about, and you can consider these little breadcrumbs to the book that'll be coming down the line. So yeah, that's it for me. Catch you guys next time. Bye.